Li Yun Xiao takes on the Zhou family's forces, successfully defeating them, to reunite with his beloved five-line tripod. With his list of enemies continuing to get longer, Yun Xiao recruits powerful martial artists to join Martial Flame City and sets up extraordinary training grounds to help his current allies get stronger, even awakening Ji Meng in the process, making the Sky Locust sect submit to him as well. He now prepares to square up with the Supreme High Palace. Soaring through the sky, Yun Xiao's Tiger King battleship leads the battalion of over 30 floating battleships back to Martial Flame City. Battered, bruised, and all tied up, the Supreme High Palace's 3-star Great Martial Master, Fu Junkai, helplessly awaits his fate. Right then, Yun Xiao starts interrogating him, questioning who is in the palace at the moment. Junkai reveals that the Great Palace Master, Ma Tianhe, is a 3-star martial grandmaster. Tianhe's son, being the Vice Palace Master himself, is a 1-star martial grandmaster named Ma Fei Bai. Intrigued to hear about such strong martial artists, Yun Xiao demands to know the full details of the Supreme High Palace's forces. Bursting into tears, Junkai reluctantly spills the beans. Aside from the Palace Master and his son, 2 elders are also martial grandmasters, amounting to a total of 4 such powerful beings. Moreover, the Supreme High Hexagram is a group made up of 6 expert martial kings. Thousands of martial artists under the martial king level serve them, including around 30 martial lords. Noting that the Supreme High Palace is a really powerful hidden sect, Qian Duo expresses concern over its unknown capabilities. Remaining unconcerned, Yun Xiao asks if one of the 2 elders is named Qi Zunzi and expresses curiosity about the other one's level. He also wonders how the Supreme High Hexagram is doing right now. Compared to Qi Zunzi, who is a 1-star martial grandmaster, the other elder Yi Baoxin is a 2-star martial grandmaster. Junkai hasn't seen the Supreme High Hexagram in a while though, leading him to believe that they are training in seclusion. Of course, Yun Xiao knows it to be BS, since it will take them around a year to recover from his last beating. He then confirms that Li Yi is still alive and kicking in the Supreme High Palace, as Yi Xiaoshan's disciple, getting excited to meet the old acquaintance again. Dude about to get his ass kicked for the 69th time in a row. Traumatized by the boy's previous shenanigans, Da Sheng questions if he intends to fight the Supreme High Palace, since fighting them now would be equivalent to courting death. Yun Xiao assures him that he won't do such a thing. However, the upside of visiting 8527 is just too tempting in the end. Fearing for his life at the thought of facing multiple martial grandmasters, Da Sheng begs Yun Xiao to stop fooling around, threatening to snitch to Li Chunyang if he doesn't. In response, the reincarnated soul simply smirks, reminding him that the old fart will be in seclusion right now after taking the couple of adversity-destroying pills. Yun Xiao insists that he won't do something he isn't supposed to, promising to only congratulate the Supreme High Palace. In the celebration taking place 3 days later, the boy decides to head back to Martial Flame City for now. Da Sheng starts having a meltdown, while Qian Duo gets convinced that Yun Xiao's reckless abandon will be his downfall. He is not aware of my goat's game. Arriving at Martial Flame City, the reincarnated soul gets alerted by a fight happening there. He rushes over to Hongbing and Da Sheng, commanding them to advance at full speed. Yun Xiao panics, understanding that the unusually strong presence he feels is being exerted by a martial grandmaster. Wondering if the intruder is from the Xingyang family, the reincarnated soul orders everyone to prepare for battle without leaving their battleships. In the heart of Martial Flame City, a man floats in the air, surrounded by his wildly buzzing extraordinary qi. The immense pressure he exudes makes it difficult for Yun Xiao and his allies to even stay on their feet. Suddenly, the martial grandmaster starts concentrating his energy on his left hand. He aims downwards, unleashing a wild beam in the middle of Martial Flame City. The resulting shockwaves push back the floating battleships, making those on board question the true extent of the martial grandmaster's abilities. Yun Xiao bursts into a sweat, understanding that no one in Martial Flame City currently holds a candle to the intruder, since Xiaoqing Wang and the others are still cultivating inside the monument of the world god. They can't possibly know what's going on in the outside world to help him. Besides, they would only end up as part of the losses if they did come out. Observing the arrival of the 30-plus battleships, the intruder questions if the city lord is finally back, vowing to kill everyone in Martial Flame City if he doesn't show himself. This is the Xing Wang family's elder, and a 1-star martial grandmaster, Xingyang Kun. Feeling threatened by the powerful enemy, the members of Heaven's Judgment are left in a panic. Refusing to go up against a martial grandmaster, one of them tries to run away from the fight. However, Yun Xiao grants him a swift and painful death instead. Lid got hit with a fatality. The reincarnated soul then makes a chilling proclamation, declaring that those who demoralize the army, the deserters, and those who disobey his orders, all meet the same gruesome fate. Hearing these ruthless words, Qian Duo looks at Yun Xiao as if he has seen a ghost. Right then, Hong Bing turns everyone's eyes into the distance, where Meng Wu is being pulled through the air by Xingyang Kun. Choking her out, the martial grandmaster questions if she still thinks that her young master Yun will kill him when he gets back. For the crime of killing Xingyang Jia, the man promises to execute all 9 generations of the city lord's family. Noting that Meng Wu seems to be close to Yun Xiao, Xingyang Kun lets go of her neck and decides to kill her first as punishment. While the reincarnated soul prepares to defend the girl, Mun Bai helplessly looks on and screams out in despair. As the martial grandmaster's chi hurls toward Meng Wu, Yun Xiao activates Taishu Heaven's capital array, condensing it in an effort to save her. However, the martial grandmaster's immense attack shatters the formation and strikes Meng Wu, leaving her life hanging by a thread. Infuriated by Xingyang Kun's actions, Yun Xiao lashes out at him, launching an all-out counterattack. A massive sword erupts from a golden formation in the sky, raining down on the martial grandmaster. All the Green Wolf battleships blast their cannons at him too, but Xingyang Kun remains unbothered. Easily blocking the onslaught with his chi, he demands that the martial Flame City Lord show himself to face his punishment. Expanding his energy shield, Xingyang Kun shatters the very essence of the attacks being thrown at him. He then pulls in Yun Xiao's Tiger King battleship, questioning the identity of the city lord yet again. Threatening to kill everyone there if they don't answer, the martial grandmaster soars through the sky and prepares to strike. Right then, the reincarnated soul announces that Xingyang Kun will be the one dying, and unleashes his eastbound purple mists, universal guarding technique. Upon release, the ability catapults the 5-line tripod toward the martial grandmaster, who gets baffled upon seeing it. After all, the Zhou family just lost it recently, and it's now in Yun Xiao's possession. What an astute observation, Mr. Sherlock. Blocking the 5-line tripod, Xingyang Kun gets enraged at the boy for daring to kill people from the Xingyang, Cheng, and Zhou families. He vows to capture him and massacre his city. In response, Yun Xiao jumps on top of the 5th-tier Shuan weapon, promising to eradicate the martial grandmaster's family for his crime of killing the people of Martial Flame City. Glaring at Xingyang Kun, the reincarnated soul activates his perception arts, soul absorption. Even the martial grandmaster isn't able to block an attack directly at his soul, and he is left questioning Yun Xiao's identity, claiming to be Xingyang Kun's ancestor. Yun Xiao calls forth the Great Sun Golden Light Array, condensing it with the 5-line tripod. Countless blades rain down from the sky, piercing the martial grandmaster. This onslaught is followed up by the 5th-tier Shuan weapon, which strikes Xingyang Kun right in his dantian and sends him flying through the sky. While Da Shun hopes that the powerful attack managed to injure the martial grandmaster, Yun Xiao huffs and puffs. Despite being completely exhausted, he is only worried about not being able to sense Meng Wu's life energy anymore. Soon, the clouds of smoke dissipate, revealing that Xingyang Kun still remains standing. Having suffered slight injuries, he is angrier than ever. In a panic, Yun Xiao shouts at Qian Duo to make a move and reactivates his soul absorption technique, freezing the martial grandmaster yet again. Falling for it twice got count as match fixing. Letting out a sigh, Qian Duo starts manipulating a heavy object, shaped like a Chinese coin. Violently shaking around on the ground, the coin vanishes. Moments later, it reappears around Xingyang Kun, trapping him in place. Feeling disrespected by a bunch of maggots trying to kill him, the martial grandmaster vows to strike the fear of his strength in their hearts. He unleashes his martial intent form, culminating in his phantom massacre technique. Taking the shape of a ghoul-like being, Xingyang Kun's chi leaps at Qian Duo to finish him off. However, the 9-star martial king stands his ground. With a chant, he brings out a crescent-shaped circular scythe, wielding it masterfully. Qian Duo utterly slashes apart Xing Yan Kun's Phantom Massacre. The former's technique leaves the latter, questioning what it is, making him realize that getting hit by such a strong Chuan weapon would spell doom even for someone like him. At the same time, the 5-line tripod starts glowing. However, Xing Yan Kun doesn't think much of it. After all, a peak martial master like Yun Xiao using even a 9th tier Chuan weapon would be pointless, or so he thinks. Questioning if the martial grandmaster really wants to try, Yun Xiao brings out the true fire of life, promising to refine him into a human pill. Bro's a villain. Xing Yan Kun understands that the flames are dangerous and starts shattering Qian Duo's entrapment. Without delay, the reincarnated soul swoops his hands around, unleashing the phoenix's flames to refine a human alive. The phoenix's mighty projection soars high, enveloping the 5-line tripod. Standing beneath it, Yun Xiao activates the tyrant body tempering technique's first stage, a body like glass. His entire being starts exuding immense pressure, making the Green Wolf battleships realize that they need to get away from there ASAP. Xing Yan Kun responds, unleashing his chi to fully break Qian Duo's technique. Thinking that Yun Xiao is using demonic arts, he gets enraged and rushes to kill him, once and for all. Reiterating that the martial grandmaster is the one who is going to die, the reincarnated soul unleashes his heaven-scorching flame technique. The phoenix projection flies towards Xing Yan Kun and collides with his chi, resulting in a massive impact. Witnessing the spectacle, the members of Heaven's Judgment question how a fight between a martial master and a martial grandmaster is so close. Plot armor, that's how. After all, their normal worldview dictates that Xing Yan Kun should afflict Yun Xiao out of existence. Meanwhile, the phoenix's flames seep through the martial grandmaster's chi, forcing him to go on the defensive. Getting scorched by the phantom of the ancient creature, Xing Yan Kun concludes that he wouldn't be able to withstand so much as a wisp of its flames if it were to manifest fully. At the same time, Yu Xiao reiterates his vow to refine him into a human pill, even at the cost of his own life. Calling forth the tyrant body tempering technique's first stage once again, the reincarnated soul unleashes a body like glass. White wall. With this, he opens the 5-line tripod and begins sucking Xing Yan Kun into it. Pause. Despite feeling confident in his abilities as a 6 Directions Realm Martial Grandmaster, the intruder understands that he can afford to get pushed into the 5-line tripod. Xing Yan Kun reactivates his Phantom Massacre to destroy the 5th tier Chuan weapon, only for Qian Duo to step in and blast it to smithereens yet again. Trembling with rage, the Elder boasts about being a proud martial grandmaster to whom even the Dust Flame Empire's emperor would kneel down. Yet, the life of someone like him is being endangered by mere ants. Refusing to accept such a pathetic fate, Xing Yan Kun brings out his Yuan Pin Pearl, resolved to take down Yun Xiao with him, even if he dies. The martial grandmaster prepares to self-destruct his life Chuan artifact. They're just making up stuff now. While retreating, Qian Duo peeks at Yun Xiao, who shows no intentions of dodging, even against such an attack. The 9-star martial king looks on in disbelief as 2 lunatics put their lives on the line, fully preparing to go down together. As Xing Yan Kun's Yuan Pin Pearl nears its explosion, Yun Xiao once again declares that he will refine him into a human pill. Suddenly, the boy's arm shatters, and his body of glass starts collapsing. Right then, Xing Yan Kun screams out, giving a deathly skull-like form to his rampant chi. The resulting explosion envelops the entire battlefield, blinding the onlookers. Even the Tiger King battleships don't remain unscathed by its impact. With his shattering body, Yun Xiao is hit with the realization that the full brunt of this earth-shattering impact didn't reach him. His eyes pop open as Chen Da Sheng stands in front of him, having guarded him from Xing Yan Kun's last-ditch effort. Rapidly coughing out blood, Da Sheng scolds the boy for being reckless to the point of not dodging, even when his opponent practically self-destructed. Yun Xiao lets out a gentle smile, revealing that it's not he didn't want to escape. It's just that the reincarnated soul has fully exhausted all of his energy to such an extent that not even his body of glass is holding up. Advising Yun Xiao not to do things beyond his abilities in the future, Da Sheng returns his life to him. After all, he owes it to the boy. Since Yun Xiao not only healed his injuries, but also helped him raise his cultivation level, Da Sheng feels that he gave him a chance at his life back. To Da Sheng, dying honorably in battle is what made his newfound life worth living in the end. Unable to cope with reality, Yun Xiao begs his martial uncle to stop joking around. Blue realized he's not built for this. However, at that very moment, Da Shum's lifeless body falls to the ground. In his dying moments, he asks Yun Xiao to take care of Chun Zun and say goodbye to his sworn brother, Li Chunyang, for him. The boy calls out to Da Sheng in utter dismay, hoping that all of this is just a big, unfunny joke. Suddenly, he feels a grueling pain in his chest. As his martial uncle's corpse falls off the Tiger King battleship, Yu Xiao helplessly tries to reach out. However, he can't even move a muscle and is just left with an aching heart. Meanwhile, Xingyang Kun reappears after exploding his life Yuan artifact. Barely holding himself together, he looks towards Yun Xiao, becoming infuriated upon seeing him still alive and standing. Still in disbelief that a noble martial grandmaster like him ended up in such a pathetic state, Xingyang Kun crawls through the air to reach Yun Xiao and vows to make him meet a gruesome fate. Right then, a towering silhouette appears behind the reincarnated soul, declaring that he will never fall. Putting his hand on Yun Xiao's shoulder, Xiao Qingwang reveals himself. Having finally broken through to become a one-star martial grandmaster, he came out of the World God Monument to happily give Yun Xiao the good news, only to find him like this. Taken aback by this sudden arrival, Xingyang Kun realizes that Qingwang isn't any weaker than himself and inquires about his identity. Burning with a wild rage, both figuratively and literally, Qingwang repeats Yun Xiao's words, announcing himself as Xingyang Kun's ancestor. Qian Duo is just as surprised to see Qingwang as Xingyang Kun. After all, the commander was barely on his level just a few days ago, but is somehow a martial grandmaster now. A truly incomprehensible feat in the world of martial arts. Questioning how Martial Flame City has such powerful fighters, Xingyang Kun regrets his decision to destroy his life Shuan artifact. The intruder had previously thought that escaping from the floating battleships in Qian Duo would be easy, even if he was heavily injured. However, Xingyang Kun couldn't ever have imagined that a martial grandmaster would show up to ruin his plans. Engulfed in hellish flames, Xiao Qingwang approaches the pathetic elder, forcing him to tuck his tail and start running. While Xingyang Kun thinks about how much he messed up by not immediately running, Qingwang catches up to him. "Stay here, forever," shouts out the commander, smashing the fraudulent martial grandmaster's face in with his burning fist. Xingyang Kun goes flying, but Qingwang doesn't give him any room to breathe and quickly follows up with a barrage of punches. "One punch for me too, please." Getting his teeth kicked in, the former suddenly grabs the latter. Declaring that he hates all of them, Xingyang Kun self-destructs his Dan Tian, blasting himself to smithereens. This act results in a massive explosion of qi, forcing Qingwang to contain it with all his might. At the same time, Hong Bing and Qian Duo form barriers around Yun Xiao to guard him. Soon, the ruckus settles down. Xiao Qingwang stands amidst the clouds of smoke, having suffered just minor injuries. Spitting on Xingyang Kun's non-existent corpse, he rushes back to the Tiger King battleship. Carrying Yun Xiao in his arms, Qingwang instructs Hong Bing to take care of the order and cleanup of Martial Flame City. He then flies off, taking the boy back to the monument of the world god. Zhang Qingfan looks on at Yun Xiao's lifeless body in dismay, while Chunyang loses the ability to even form his sentence at the sight of his sworn brother's corpse. I am about to start throwing hands with the creator at this point. Thinking on their feet, Qingfan and Shu Han quickly put Yun Xiao and Meng Wu in a healing formation. However, as the Grand Array is only able to condense small amounts of life energy at a time, the healing process shows almost no progress. Seeing this, Jimeng questions if there are any more of the 6 sunset gold pills that Yun Xiao used to heal him. Qingfan reveals that he does have the reincarnated soul's storage ring, albeit with no way of cracking the encryption on it. He asks Shu Han for help in decrypting it, and the 2 4th-tier refiners attempt to break into the storage ring one more time. While Chunyang continues to stare at Da Sheng's corpse blankly, Meng Bai clutches his fists and starts running off somewhere. Looking on, Yun Shang questions where he is going. Lamenting his weakness, the kid announces that he is heading off to train, not wanting to see his sister and master get hurt again. Enough to make a grown man cry, Meng Bai's resolve touches Yun Shang, and she softly mutters his name. With tears flowing down his face, the kid gets ready to eat the demon egg his master gave him. Believing that Meng Wu and Yun Xiao will wake up soon, he vows to improve massively to make them happy when they do. Hearing his words, Yu Shang starts crying. She calls out for Gu Fei Yang, wondering where he is, when his disciple is severely injured and needs him. Moments later, Qing Fan and Xu Han sigh out, having failed at decryption the storage ring. Qing Wang lashes out at them, questioning how they dare to call themselves fourth-tier refiners when they can't even open a storage ring. Labeling them as useless trash, the martial grandmaster snatches away Yun Xiao's storage ring from them and prepares to force it open. Since doing so has a huge risk of destroying the storage ring's contents, Yu Shang worries about the worst-case scenario coming to pass. These words make Qing Wang hesitate, but looking at Yun Xiao's condition makes him understand that they can't delay anymore, and he announces his plan. After opening the storage ring, the martial grandmaster will hold up the collapsing space. At the same time, Yu Shan, Jimeng, Yian, and Chan Feng will grab as many things as they possibly can. Making his instructions clear, Qing Wang starts breaking into the storage ring. The martial grandmaster begins crushing the storage ring, forcing it to break open. Engulfed by his powerful qi, the ring's independent space starts running rampant. Qing Wang puts all of his effort into stabilizing it and asks everyone to hurry up. Yu Shang, Jimeng, Chang Feng, and Yian all rush to grab whatever they can from the storage ring. Soon, the space completely destabilizes. Unable to contain it any longer, the martial grandmaster lets go, and the storage ring disappears. Despite their best efforts, Yu Xiao's allies are only able to retrieve less than a third of his items. Fortunately, this contains the reincarnated soul's Tiger Fang sword. Qing Wang asks the fourth-tier ruffianers to check if the retrieved items contain any pills that can help save Yun Xiao. Xu Han and Qing Fan closely go through the items, luckily finding a 6 sunset gold pill. Without delay, they feed it to Yun Xiao. While Qing Wang stabilizes the boy, Qing Fan and Xu Han note that even the two of them together wouldn't be able to refine the holy fourth-tier healing medicine. Right then, Yun Xiao's body starts making cracking sounds. Everyone intently looks on, hoping that this is enough to wake him up. However, the reincarnated soul doesn't even move a muscle. Blood is in the shadow realm. Back when Jimeng almost died, only 1 6 sunset gold pill was enough to save him. On the other hand, Yun Xiao consuming the pill only returned a bit of color to his face, making Xu Han question just how much he has exhausted himself. Losing patience, Qing Wang once again lashes out at the two fourth-tier ruffianers for their incompetence. Instead of protesting against the insults, Qing Fan lowers his head and laments that he can't do anything to help Yun Xiao. Right then, Xu Han remembers a recipe hidden deep in the Imperial Palace, one that Qing Fan showed to him. Hearing the former's words, the latter realizes that he's a massive idiot. In the Imperial Palace's treasury, Qing Fan once found the recipe for a fourth-tier pill that could even bring the dead back to life. Of course, since there was no chance of him becoming a fourth-tier refiner back then, Qing Fan didn't pay it much mind. Thankfully, the recipe is still imprinted in his brain. Just like that, the two alchemists run off to refine the pill, vowing to save their lord Yun Xiao. You know what? I will allow the glazing this one time. At the same time, Hongbing effectively carries out restorative efforts within Martial Flame City. The entire city gets sealed, forbidding everyone from either leaving or entering the premises in order to prevent the news from rapidly spreading and attracting their enemies. Qian Duo observes the scene from a rooftop, having nothing to do. Despite scouring the entirety of Martial Flame City with his universal detect, he couldn't find Yun Xiao and the others, making him rightly conclude that they must be inside an independent space. Remembering the earlier battle, Qian Duo once again gets baffled at the thought of a martial master like Yun Xiao being so powerful. After all, if it was him on the receiving end of the Bird of Fire, he would have gotten wrecked. Questioning if what he saw before was the shadow of the legendary true soul, the Phoenix, Qian Duo notes that it is a being at the 10 ultimate realm. Since all the ancient souls had seemingly perished, seeing traces of them in his lifetime wasn't something that Qian Duo deemed possible. As he wonders who Yun Xiao truly is, Hongbing reprimands him and reminds Qian Duo that the boy is his city lord now too. Of course, the team commander himself doesn't know who Yun Xiao really is, since he just became city lord half a month ago. However, What Han Bing does know is that Martial Flame City will prosper and become an amazing place under his leadership, making Qian Duo wonder what he considers to be amazing. The Team 1 commander thinks that Yun Xiao will make Martial Flame City not only greater than the Dust Flame Empire, but also help it become a first-rate power in Tianwu, or even bigger than that. Hearing this, Qian Duo starts laughing, reminding Han Bing that Tianwu is a vast continent, as even the Dust Flame Empire is insignificant. When it comes to the bigger picture, he deemed his claims to be naive. However, Han Bing remains steadfast in his belief. He tells Qian Duo to look far and wide, declaring that Yun Xiao is leading Martial Flame City to the pinnacle of Tianwu, one step at a time. Let him know, King. Leaving the 9-star Martial King with these words, Han Bing heads off. After pondering over these words for a while, Qian Duo realizes that he will still return to Martial Flame City, even when he reaches the pinnacle of Tianwu. Moved by how much everyone trusts Yun Xiao, Qian Duo decides to trust him, just this once as well, and pulls out a pill to eat. Back at the Monument of the World God, Shu Han and Qing Fan come running back excitedly, celebrating that they have succeeded in refining the 4th-tier Holy Healing Medicine. The Sincere Snow Pill, being a pill from ancient times, is much stronger than normal 4th-tier medicine and brims with immense soul qi. Fully convinced that the Sincere Snow Pill can save Yun Xiao, Qing Fan feeds it to him, while everyone looks on with hopeful eyes. 6 hours later, the reincarnated soul still knows no reaction, making Chang Feng question what's going on. Having a deep understanding of the pill's immense healing effects, Qing Fan and Shu Han wonder why Yun Xiao is showing only slight improvement. In the end, they conclude that the boy's injuries were just too severe. So, the 2 4th-tier refiners get ready to refine as many Sincere Snow Pills as they need to feed Yun Xiao and start running off. Right then, Xing Wang tells them to hold on, since the great array is enveloping the reincarnated soul. Moments later, flowers start to bloom in the formation. Seeing the grand array coming alive and functioning better than when they activated it together, Qing Fan and Shu Han are left in disbelief. Amidst the blooming flowers, Yan starts breathing in the qi of life and feels himself getting revitalized. Chang Feng smacks it out of him, wanting Yun Xiao and Meng Wu to absorb all the good stuff. What a gad! Drake could learn a thing or two from him. Meanwhile, the grand array culminates in a lotus-like flower, enveloping the 2 wounded teens in a revitalizing glow. For an entire day and night, the array stays activated, after which Yun Xiao wakes up. Although the Sincere Snow Pill couldn't heal the boy completely, it helped him recover a shred of his consciousness. With it, he could control the array and activate himself. While everyone celebrates Yun Xiao's awakening, Yu Shang worriedly asks why Meng Wu is still unconscious. The reincarnated soul reveals that Xingyan Kun shattered her spirits, meaning that they can't wake her up without the spirit-nourishing wood. Since this means that there's a way to save the girl, Yun Shang feels a bit relieved. However, she does wonder how a 15-year-old like Yun Xiao can stay so calm after experiencing the worst ordeal of his life. Announcing that he's fine now, the boy inquires about where Chunyang and Da Sheng are. Everyone lowers their heads with shame, while Chang Feng reveals that Chunyang left with Da Sheng. Hiding that he's heartbroken, Yun Xiao calmly remarks that he will go visit them and vanishes. The others try to stop him, but Yu Shang insists that they let him go. After all, Chen Da Sheng died to save him, so he must be feeling all sorts of emotions right now. Silence befalls in the World God Monument, as everyone stands frozen in place. Qing Wang makes the first move, declaring that this is no time to be standing around, as even tougher battles lie ahead. He orders everyone to go and cultivate, not wanting a repeat of what happened last time with Xingyan Kun. Elsewhere, Yun Xiao appears behind his grandfather, mourning over the grave of his sworn brother. Seeing that his grandson is finally awake, Chunyang asks him if he knows what the most painful thing in life is. Yun Xiao shakes his head, prompting the old fart to let out a small chuckle. With tears flowing down his face, Chunyang mutters that it's when you can't get drunk, no matter how much you drink. Hearing that his grandpa hasn't gotten drunk ever since becoming a martial king, Yun Xiao promises to refine a bottle of wine that can get him drunk. A cool breeze blows, and the two pay their respects to Chen Da Sheng. Brave soldier boy comes marching home. In the aftermath of Martial Flame City's battle with Xingyan Kun, Han Bing quickly finishes up the cleanup, putting together the list of missing people. The greatest losses were suffered by the civilians, but some members of Heaven's Core and Heaven's Resolve died as well. Yun Xiao tasks Wu Zishi with providing compensation to all the families who were directly or indirectly affected by the battle, instructing him to grant 100 times the compensation to the families of Heaven's Core and Heaven's Resolve. Earlier, the reincarnated soul broke the tragic news of Da Sheng's death to Chen Zhen and Han Bai, resolved to keep his promise to Da Sheng of helping Chen Zhen become a martial lord within a year. The reincarnated soul sent them to Square Inch Mountain to train in seclusion. Now, Yun Xiao turns over to Jia Rong, questioning how much he managed to borrow. Jia Rong reveals that the Thousand Treasures Tower lent them 50,000 high-tier primordial stones, after which Yin Xiaoyang ran off into seclusion. The Tian Yuan Commerce Guild lent them the same amount, with Ling Daner swearing that they could only give them this much at the moment. Yun Xiao snarks, understanding that Xiaoyang hid himself in fear of getting extorted. Of course, the reincarnated soul isn't as nice as to let the martial grandmaster keep a good relationship with him without taking some losses. Yun Xiao instructs Jia Rong to send someone over to Xiaoyang to pass on the message that if Martial Fling City can't get 200,000 high-tier primordial stones, then he doesn't know him. Bro is a gold digger. If Xiaoyang refuses to help them now, their bridge will forever be burned, regardless of how hard he tries to repair it later. Hearing Yun Xiao's words, Jia Rong worries for his well-being. After all, he is the one who will have to threaten the martial grandmaster to borrow the money. Right then, a guard comes running there with a jade letter for Yun Xiao. While Jia Rong continues to tremble in fear for his life, the boy puts the message to his head and finds out that it's from Ding Linger. Not only does she know everything that happened in Martial Flame City recently, but she has also attached thorough details on the Xingyang family and the Supreme High Palace for him. For the first time in his new life, Yun Xiao gets read like a book, making him realize that Ding Linger doesn't trust him. However, the boy refuses to blame her for keeping tabs on him, since he is her biggest investment. Understanding that he has to head to the Supreme High Palace before destroying the Xingyang family, Yun Xiao announces that he will be going out, leaving Hong Bing with instructions on what to do in his absence. Nung Fei Chun is to be brought into the Pill Tower to train, while Heaven's Core, Heaven's Resolve, and Heaven's Judgment are to train inside the 3 training grounds, with extremely harsh conditions he has set up using formations. Moreover, since Da Sheng is no more, Yun Shang is to assume temporary leadership of Heaven's Core. After Hong Bing completely understands his marching orders, Yun Xiao moves out on his Tiger King battleship, looking to invade the Supreme High Palace alone. Despite the Dust Flame Empire's vast jurisdiction, only a small part of it is actually populated because of the endless stretches of mountain ranges that take up most of the Empire's land. The Supreme High Palace is located at such a cultivation ground as well, being a place that has a very rich soul chi. Due to this very fact, it gained power rapidly even without having a long history behind it. Currently, Yun Xiao is climbing the stairs to the cultivation ground, housing the Supreme High Palace, having changed his appearance so that Li Yi doesn't recognize him. Getting forced to take such measures due to a mere slave, Yun Xiao compliments him like a villain and lets out a sinister grin. Right then, a seemingly harmless guy politely asks the boy to wait, asking if he is attending the Supreme High Palace's celebration. Seeing that Yun Xiao is just a martial master, the stranger relaxes and introduces himself as Xiao Jian, the son of the 100 Sword Sect Master. Inquiring about the reincarnated soul sect, he suggests that they head to the palace together. Yun Xiao scans Xiao Jian from head to toe, realizing that he is a 3rd-star martial lord, trying his best not to say the hostile things he has on his mind. The reincarnated soul politely introduces himself as the Locust Sky Sexmon Bai. However, hearing these words completely changes Xiao Jian's previously respectful demeanor, leaving Yun Xiao wondering if he said something wrong. Lamenting that he wasted his time, the martial lord overtakes the boy and instructs him not to overstep his boundaries. Well, that's something that will never happen. Putting on a masterclass in acting, Yun Xiao chases Xiao Jian and begs him to explain what he means by that. At first, the latter completely dismisses the former. Of course, Yun Xiao's sparkling eyes are too much for his heart to handle. Enlightening the clueless idiot, Xiao Jian reveals that the Sky Locust sect is notorious in the Dust Flame Empire for turtling up and being filled with a bunch of embarrassments. With only Nun Fei Chun possessing some level of skill, They are the weakest sect in the entire empire. Heck, the Supreme High Palace invited them to the celebration out of pity. In return, though, the Sky Locust sect has foolishly sent a weakling for the banquet, snarking at their arrogance of coning a poor martial master to do their bidding. Shiyao Jian moves out, reiterating his earlier advice for Yun Shiyao. After he leaves, the reincarnated soul realizes that the martial lord was right. Usually, there are two ways of handling these invitations properly. For weaker sects, they must send a disciple with a high cultivation level, while larger sects can get away with sending a relatively weak representative. That's why upon seeing that Yun Shiyao is just a martial master, Shiyao Jian assumed that he belongs to a great sect, only to get severely disappointed. Yun Shiyao is left feeling troubled, as his current disguise will enrage the Supreme High Palace greatly. At the moment, either death or humiliation awaits him. Regardless, it's too late to do anything, and Yun Shiyao just decides to go through with it, hoping that Li Yi doesn't recognize him too early. Later, at the Supreme Palace's entrance, an old man gives Shiyao Jian a warm welcome. Looking around, Yun Shiyao realizes that his intuition about the Supreme High Palace having a deep relationship with the Beiming family, the adversaries of his past life, was right. Even the scenery surrounding him is nearly identical to what he saw as Gu Fei Yang, albeit lacking in splendor. They stole the whole flow, word for word, bar for bar. Right then, his train of thought is interrupted by the arrival of Xing Yangming, who gets escorted to his seat by the old man's orders. Seeing Xing Yangming, the reincarnated soul notes that he is a two-star martial lord at the cusp of a breakthrough. Suddenly, the grandpa asks Yun Shiyao which sect he is from, thinking that a mere martial master like him must be a disciple of a giant sect. Handing him the invitation, the boy remarks that he is from the Sky Locust sect, leaving everyone there in utter disbelief. With veins popping out of his head, the old man's processor overloads. He tries to come up with an escape route for the disrespect committed by the Sky Locust sect, but only extremely violent thoughts come to mind. Yun Shiyao rubs the back of his head, feeling bad for the poor guy. At that precise moment, the old man asks him what gifts he has brought for them on the Sky Locust sect's behalf. Since Yun Shiyao's old storage ring got destroyed by Xiao Qing Wang, he had to get a new one. As such, the boy only has two items in his possession, the 5-line tripod and the Tiger Fang sword, both of which he loves with all his heart. Yun Shiyao hesitantly starts removing his storage ring, but is unable to follow through with it, immediately putting it back on. He promises the old fart that they will repay him next time, infuriating him to no end. The onlookers conclude that this is all just a big plot from the Sky Locust sect, who is Yun Shiyao as a scapegoat to carry out his provocation. They start cheering for his death, prompting the old man to call for Third Zhu to take the boy inside. As instructed, the guy with the weird name guides Yun Shiyao inside, albeit away from the main entrance. The former takes the ladder to a doggy hole that leads to a firewood room, where he will be brought a bowl of rice to eat when the banquet starts. Everyone laughs at him, labeling the Sky Locust sect as an embarrassment. Yun Shiyao tears up, fully selling himself as a poor scapegoat. Someone give this dude his Oscar. Of course, in reality, he already planned on leaving the banquet discreetly, so this just makes his life easy. Leaving Yun Shiyao in a small room, the Third Zhu guy heads out laughing. After he leaves, the reincarnated soul uses Universal Detect on the Supreme High Palace, wanting to be careful in avoiding all the strong people there. While scouting the infrastructure, Yun Shiyao finds out that not only did the Supreme High Palace bootleg the Beiming's palace outer features, but the interiors are practically the same as well. To top things off, the extreme frost qi cultivated by them is also just the Beiming family's yin frost qi, aka one of the most toxic true qi in the world. Incidentally, Luo Yunshang's 9-yang true qi is a direct counter to it. Despite living through his second lifetime right now, Yun Shiyao never would have thought that both potent techniques of extreme yin and yang would show up in the Dusk Flame Empire at once. Back to the important matter at hand though, since the Supreme High Palace's design is exactly the same as the Beiming Palace, it means that their treasury would also be in the same spot. In his past life as Gu Fei Yang, the reincarnated soul slaughtered the Beiming Palace's people on 3 separate occasions. Of course, he would have died all those times if no one inside was helping him. Have you ever thought that OVO is working for me? Tight beat. So, Yun Shiyao is already completely familiar with the ins and outs of the palace. Soon, the boy reaches the treasury and snarks at the Supreme High Palace's forces for not having a creature bone in their bodies. After all, it blatantly and crudely copied even a simple building like that. Suddenly, he gets alerted by something and quickly rushes to hide in a nearby tree. Lo and behold, Li Yi arrives on the scene, making Yun Shiyao conclude that they must share a common fate after all. Seeing Li Yi, the reincarnated soul wonders if he is there to steal from his own sect. Marveling at his bravery, Yun Shiyao decides to use him as the scout. The reincarnated soul takes a closer look at Li Yi, noting that he has already become a one-star martial lord. This annoys Yun Shiyao, as this means that his slave is improving even faster than him. Right then, Li Yi finishes his warm-up and begins maneuvering around the field in front of the treasury. Taking calculated steps as if he were a ballerina, Li Yi manages to cross the yard, riddled with straw inscriptions, impressing Yun Shiyao. Moments later, 8527 reaches the stairs of the treasury. He grits his teeth in displeasure, questioning who set up the confusing inscriptions, blocking his way. Must be the work of an enemy stand. Making some hand signs, Li Yi manages to open the door to the treasury and starts celebrating that enduring that pervert for so long finally worked out for him. Luckily for Li Yi, the bane of his existence is busy with the celebratory banquet, leaving him free to steal a heavenly obsidian jade. Using it, 8527 wants to train the extreme yin frost chi to the highest level, as this will allow him to fight off even martial kings. Hearing these words, Yun Shiyao remembers that the treasure Li Yi is talking about is the Beiming family's prized possession, making him question how something like it ended up there. Without delay, Yun Shiyao jumps out of the tree. Before Li Yi can even react, he swiftly covers the distance between them while dodging the inscriptions in the yard with ease. Left holding Yun Shiyao's disguise in his hands, the ex-slave gets alerted at first. However, upon seeing that it's just the random guy from the Sky Locust sect instead of the Supreme High Palace's master, he feels a bit relieved and inquires about his identity. Right then, the realization hits him. If this mysterious person is just a random dude not from the Supreme High Palace, then he shouldn't have been able to clear the encryptions so easily. Even Vice Master Ma Fei Bai, whom Li Yi secretly watched over a dozen times to get a hang of it, can't clear them at that pace. Regardless, he deems the situation to be manageable, since the intruder is just a peak martial master. Li Yi once again asks the reincarnated soul who he is, warning him of the consequences of his actions. Oh, shiver me timbers. Removing his wig, Yun Shiyao starts tying up his hair and questions if Li Yi has forgotten his old master, after getting a new one. These words stab 8527 like a dagger, distorting his face from fear. Yu Shiyao turns around to greet his former slave, asking how he's been all this time. Seeing the boy's face shatters every thought in Li Yi's mind, and he only ends up growling his name like a wild dog. While the ex-slave continues to mumble gibberish, Yun Shiyao thanks his fortune for letting him meet an old friend in a foreign land. Li Yi tries to give himself a pep talk, convincing his mind and body that a martial lord like him has no reason to be afraid of a martial master. For the first time in his life, Li Yi manages to pass a witty remark at Yun Shiyao. Wondering when he became so humorous, the reincarnated soul laughs, since it's something he would say. Not thinking that the situation is funny at all, Li Yi grits his teeth in fury and questions how Yun Shiyao got past the encryption. As if intending to make the former die with rage, the latter thanks him for coming in first and demonstrating how to do it. After all, had Li Yi not shown him how to bypass the encryption, Yun Shiyao would have gotten blown to bits, trying to enter the treasury. Li Yi's processor overloads at this comment, as he previously had to look the steps over a dozen times before learning it. He refuses to believe that Yun Shiyao managed to do it after watching it just once, no matter how big of a genius he is. Coming in with his signature witty reply, the boy remarks that it's just because Li Yi is born to be a crude servant who knows nothing about music or rhythm. Bro is a bigger hater than K-Dot. On the other hand, Yu Shiyao quickly understood that the key to solving the encryption is a dance move from ancient times called the Soul Sword Tap Dance. Li Yu's blood pressure shoots at this comment, making him cough out a ton of blood. Once again, Yun Shiyao questions why he is getting so mad, patronizingly expressing concern for what anger is doing to his health. The boy reminds Li Yi to keep it down, if he doesn't want to get found out by the Supreme High Palace. Swirling around majestically, the reincarnated soul tries to lighten up Li Yi's mood by offering to dance with him. 8527's poor brain is unable to take the bombardment of witty remarks, and the blood spurting from his mouth makes him hit the canvas. He begs Yun Shiyao to stop playing around and just say what he wants. worrying that they will get caught. Of course, the reincarnated goal is simple, taking all the treasures there. Since there are countless treasures in the Supreme High Palace, Li Yi lashes out at Yun Xiao for being so greedy. Being the first one there, the ex-slave demands that they split everything 6-4 in his favor. Yun Xiao asks Li Yi if he is hearing himself right now, refusing to accept a mere 40%. Huffing and puffing in anger, 8527 reluctantly agrees to split the loot 50-50. These words enrage Yun Xiao, as a mere dog from his Li family doesn't deserve anything. Stopping himself from fainting out of rage, Li Yi gets sick and tired of the disrespect. He leaps at Yun Xiao, attacking him with a blade enveloped in his extreme Frost Yuan Qi. Of course, the reincarnated soul easily avoids the onslaught. With a flick of his wrist, he lightly taps Li Yu's sword, sending him flying. Back when 8527 was a great martial master, he couldn't take the upper hand against Yun Xiao even once. Things should have changed, now that he is a martial lord, but it is turning out to be a repeat of before, infuriating Li Yi to no end. He digs his blade into the ground, demanding that Yun Xiao doesn't look down on him. Like that's gonna happen. A huge wave of ice erupts from the point of contact, enveloping the entire area in frozen shards, complimenting Li Yi for improving since the last time they met. Yun Xiao pipes him down by unleashing the Tiger Fang Sword, Lotus Sword Song causing flowers to bloom over the icy landscape. The ex-slave's domain gets utterly dominated, and a massive concentration of qi starts gathering over his head. Realizing that the obsidian jade or even his pride isn't more important than his life, Li Yi tries to make a run of it. He calls forth his benumbing qi, godly frost sword stands to wildly swing his blade, forming a barrier around himself. Running like a hamster in a wheel, Li Yi retreats, vowing to destroy Yun Xiao one day. The reincarnated soul simply encourages him to do his best, looking forward to the next time they meet. These parting ways make Li Yi trip up one last time, truly cementing that Yun Xiao lives in his head rent-free. Stealing everything in the Supreme High Palace's treasury, Yun Xiao wants to make a run for it quickly, even if Li Yi doesn't report the incident. However, as all the items there are nothing compared to the heavenly obsidian jade, Yun Xiao decides to stick around for now. Activating his universal detect, the reincarnated soul spots an out-of-spot tile inside the floor. Someone must have vented. Realizing that he almost got tricked, Yun Xiao removes the tile, finding a box made out of dragon bones inside. Usually, they would have blocked his universal detect entirely. Fortunately, the small size of the bones limited their functionality. Opening the box, Yun Xiao gets engulfed with the eerie ooze of the heavenly obsidian jade. However, it's only a small fragment, cut out from the actual treasure, which means that someone from the Supreme High Palace's Ma family betrayed the Beiming Palace to obtain it. Quickly removing the extreme Yuan Qi from his hands, Yun Xiao heads out. Quite a bit of time has passed since Li Yi escaped, and yet, no one from the Supreme High Palace caught wind of what happened at the Treasury, meaning that the ex-slave didn't rat out his former master. Taking advantage of this, Yun Xiao activates private sound transmission, sending a message to Xing Yangming. Upon hearing it, the martial lord suddenly gets up. He asks the Great Palace Master and Vice Palace Master to excuse him, as an urgent matter has come up. Ma Tian, he declares that it's fine, as the Xingyang family must have many things to deal with, unlike the sects turtling themselves in the mountains. Xing Yangming apologizes to the Palace Master, vowing to personally make it up to him next time. He then moves out, noting that the voice transmitted to him earlier contained a very profound technique of the heart. After hearing just a few words, the martial lord was able to loosen the bottleneck on his cultivation, convincing him that getting the complete technique would improve it greatly. Bro about to find out why all that glitters is not gold. Xing Yangming quickly arrives at the Supreme High Palace's treasury, understanding that it will be impossible to explain things if he is somehow discovered there. Right then, Yun Xiao transmits the method to break the encryptions to him. Xing Yangming hesitates for a moment, but concludes that the risk is well worth the reward. The martial lord starts moving as carefully as he possibly can, soon arriving at the treasury's door, albeit completely exhausted. However, the voice instructing him up till this point completely disappears as if it never existed. Looking around, Xing Yangming is left confused about what's going on. Judging from the encryption outside, the place should have been highly important to the Supreme High Palace, but it's completely empty. Suddenly, he is overcome with an uneasy feeling and quickly rushes outside, only to find himself surrounded by the Supreme High Palace's forces. Getting reprimanded by the Palace Master, Xing Yangming realizes that he has been framed and tries to explain that this is all just a big misunderstanding. However, he isn't interested in hearing anything. With a wild roar, he demands Xing Yangming to hand over everything he took if he wants to live, making him cough out blood uncontrollably. Right then, Yun Xiao resumes the private sound transmission, instructing the martial lord to run to the right. The latter does as told, prompting the palace master to become infuriated. Refusing to let a thief escape from right under his nose, he steps into the encryption. Much to Tianhe's dismay, his leg gets burned. Ma Feibai asks his dad what just happened, getting told that someone has modified the encryption. However, Tianhe doubts his own words, as even a martial grandmaster like him doesn't possess the ability to alter the encryption. For that very reason, he put the quartet pavilion within the treasury, without making anyone guard it. Refusing to let Xing Yangming escape with his treasure, Tianhe expands the search range. All disciples of the Supreme High Palace move out, having orders to kill the martial lord on sight. Running through the mountain range, Xing Yangming laments that he let himself get used. At the same time, the man understands that framing him without getting detected isn't a regular feat. Xing Yangming wonders who would want to frame him, and more importantly, why. "Oh, you sweet summer child." Suddenly, a voice declares that it's because he is from the Xingyang family. Appearing through the mountain range, Yun Xiao reveals himself to the martial lord. The boy's words leave Xing Yangming questioning reality, as a mere peak martial master could somehow read his mind. However, he does recognize his voice as the person who framed him. Suddenly, Yun Xiao declares that the power of a martial master is enough to kill a dog like Xing Yangming. Infuriated at his mind getting read once again, the martial lord questions why Yun Xiao framed him, getting told to ask Xing Yang-kun after dying. With this, Yun Xiao activates his perception arts, Demon Moon, to summon the 5-line tripod. Unleashing the universal guarding, eastbound purple mists technique, he makes Xing Yangming meet a gruesome fate. Soon, a group of disciples from the Supreme High Palace comes running there. Not knowing who Yun Xiao is, they inquire about Xing Yangming. The reincarnated soul turns towards them, his eyes still crimson like the demon moon, and his clothes drenched in blood. Proclaiming that they should die too, Yun Xiao declares the start of his revenge. Sometime later, Ma Tianhe and Ma Feibai arrive at the location, where the Supreme High Palace's disciples found Yun Xiao. However, the place is riddled with the disciples' corpses. Witnessing this terrible sight, the palace master swears on his manhood that he will kill Xing Yangming. Meanwhile, Yun Xiao heads back to Martial Flame City for Xing Yang-kun's crime of killing one of his men. The boy vows to kill his entire clan. After returning to Martial Flame City, Yun Xiao immediately enters the World God Monument to train in seclusion. Within just a day, he breaks through the barrier of a martial master, reaching the Great Martial Master level. Now, Yun Xiao tells his aides that he is heading to High Sun City, the capital of the Dust Flame Empire, where the imperial family resides. Worried about him, they question if he is going to the Xingyang family. Yun Xiao confirms this, receiving Chun Yang's firm disapproval. After all, it was only recently that a single martial artist from the Xingyang family left Martial Flame City in shambles. Despite Qing Wang's recent breakthrough to the Martial Grandmaster level, Martial Flame City remains incomparable to the large Xingyang family, with centuries of history behind it. What a Debbie Downer. Yun Xiao informs his worried grandfather that they would only be sitting ducks if no initiative is taken, as they are the first suspects in Xing Yang-kun's disappearance. Moreover, he already has a plan, needing just 11 people to come with him. Qing Wang remarks that gathering only 11 people, who are martial lords or above, wouldn't be a problem, but such a meager force wouldn't even be able to defeat a noble family in the Dust Flame Empire. Right then, Qian Duo shows up there, wanting to be included in great things like this. Having broken through to the Martial Grandmaster level, he asks Yun Xiao to take him along. While Qing Wang and Qian Duo banter, the reincarnated soul praises the latter for using the Moonbreak Scroll effectively. Having already stabilized his realm, Qian Duo is a step above Qing Wang. Even though he broke through before him, Yun Xiao's way of talking annoys the new Martial Grandmaster, who feels like a kid in front of the teenager. Already trusting the reincarnated soul with his life, the presence of two Martial Grandmasters puts Qing Wang at ease about going along with his plan. Meanwhile, Qian Duo realizes that Yun Xiao has somehow become a great martial master, and his eyes almost pop out of his skull. As he starts going through an existential crisis, Chunyan reiterates his earlier disapproval, announcing that new martial grandmasters have no chance against experienced ones. Whose side are you on, old man? Right then, Nunfei Chun arrives there and volunteers to participate in Yun Xiao's plan too. Just like Qian Duo, he has also broken through to the martial grandmaster level with the boy's help. Chunyan marvels at the three newly transcended martial grandmasters, who, despite belonging to a realm that he didn't even dare to think about in the past, are paying their respects to his grandson. Yun Xiao asks Nunfei Chun for help in his endeavor, getting assured that everything will be carried out as per his orders. With this, the reincarnated soul gathers the 11 people he was looking for. The three martial grandmasters, Chunyang, Changfeng, the two vice sect masters of the Sky Locust sect, Jimeng, Hongbing, and Yian. With these mighty aids, Yun Xiao will be performing the 12 capital Divine Thunder Array. While everyone wonders what that is, Yun Shan gets alerted for some reason. Without delay, Yun Xiao reveals that it's just an array that attracts thunderbolts from the 9 heavens and causes lightning to strike. The strength of these thunderbolts depends on the strength of the people setting up the array. For instance, 12 martial sovereigns could attract the strongest Brahma's periwinkle world-destroying divine thunder, capable of turning even the immortal golden body to ashes. In order to set up the 12 capital divine thunder array, they will need only 6 hours, exactly the amount of time it will take them to reach High Sun City. Sometime later, Yun Xiao meditates atop his Tiger King battleship when Yun Shang suddenly approaches him. The boy wonders if there's something about the array that she doesn't understand, getting told that he should understand what she's thinking about. With a melodramatic gaze, Yun Shang asks Yun Xiao about the condition of that lord. Looking away sadly, the boy remarks that he is nothing but a good-for-nothing. Dude is self-aware, being third on the major power chart, or being called a military breaker martial sovereign, being a sovereign class refiner, or being known as an honorary elder. None of it matters in Yun Xiao's eyes. Despite tricking so many pure and innocent girls like Yun Shang into thinking about him all the time, it amounted to nothing. At the end for Gu Feiyang. Hearing Yun Xiao talk, the lady sees the projection of the man she loves. Yun Shang begs him not to talk like that, deeming it to be a good day as long as Gu Feiyang is doing well. An ancient poem rings in her heart and mind, making Yun Xiao sigh. Without talking in riddles anymore, he definitively tells Yun Shang that Gu Feiyang is fine, making her erupt in tears. Removing her glasses, Yun Shang wipes her tears and thanks Yun Xiao. The boy stands there speechless, not understanding how he should deal with this. Suddenly, Yun Shang pulls him into her embrace, questioning how Gu Feiyang is right now. Trying to change the subject, Yun Xiao remarks that this isn't the time to think about these things, and promises to tell her when they get back. His words snap the lady back to reality, making her realize what she's doing. Utterly flustered by her own actions, Yun Shang turns away from Yun Xiao and tries to calm herself down by acting like a teacher again. She also reminds him that he also owes her a performance of the Guangling Odyssey. Wanting to get out of the troublesome situation, Yun Xiao suggests waiting for Gu Feiyang to give her the performance himself in the future. Infatuated with him, Yun Shang wonders if he will really do it for her. Yun Xiao lets out an embarrassed cough, promising to at least pass on her request to Gu Feiyang. Hearing this, the maiden's eyes warp into hearts and she thanks Yun Xiao. Overwhelmed by Yun Shang, the reincarnated soul practically begs her to go back to her battleship and familiarize herself with the array. The lady smirks, questioning if Gu Feiyang taught him the 12 capital heavenly thunder array too. How is girl still so clueless? Having been a part of the Heavenly Night Palace, Yun Shang reveals that it is one of their 3 supreme arrays. Despite not letting her use it, teacher Luo's master imprinted the entire array in her mind, so she's already completely familiar with it. Estimating the combined powers of the 12 of them, Yun Xiao notes that they can at least attract one type of the 5 elements divine thunder. He hopes that it will allow them to contest the Xingyang family. Since condensing the great array is a flashy process, Yun Shang worries that the Xingyang family will disrupt their setup by sending a 2-star martial grandmaster. Of course, Yun Xiao has already thought about it, and assures her that there's no need to worry. Sometime later, the Martial Flame City's forces arrive at High Sun City. Feeling strong consciousnesses in the Dusk Flame Empire's shrine, Qing Wang and Yun Xiao understand that they can't launch an all-out attack on the Xinjiang Ming family. Not with that energy, you can't. After discussing their game plan, Yun Xiao uses the secret art of concealment to hide the battalion of floating battleships. The Martial Flame City's forces then start making their way to the Xinjiang family, during which the reincarnated soul feels two strong consciousnesses monitoring them closely. Of course, Yun Xiao remains unconcerned. After all, he intends to use the heavenly obsidian jade as the core of the array to shift the blame to the Supreme High Palace. Meanwhile, in the Xinjiang family's meeting room, the current family patriarch, a 4-star martial grandmaster named Xinjiang Yi, feels restless over Xinjiang Kun's absence. The Grand Chamberlain, Xinjiang Cheng, tries to comfort him. However, Xinjiang Yi is unable to make sense of the situation and starts pacing around worriedly. After all, losing him will be a way bigger blow to the Xinjiang family than Xinjiang Jia. Heck, the latter dying is an even bad thing to him, since it only grants his grandson a higher chance of succeeding the family. Regardless, as Xinjiang Jia is the direct grandson of the Supreme Elder, the family patriarch sent Xinjiang Kun to capture the person responsible for killing him and satiate the Supreme Elder. As the Grand Chamberlain wonders if they should send someone else to Martial Flame City, Xinjiang Yi deems it better to involve the Cheng family in the investigation, since Cheng Feiji also died there. The family patriarch then inquires about Xinjiang Ming's whereabouts, getting told that he should have returned yesterday, but still hasn't come back. I wonder how. I wonder why. Xinjiang Yi is overcome with uneasiness, feeling that the two incidents are somehow linked. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning strikes the meeting room. Questioning who dares to challenge the Xinjiang family, the 4-star martial grandmaster leaps into battle. However, the impact of the lightning bolt from earlier stops him in his tracks, as the residue of the impact contains the Supreme High Palace's extreme yin frost qi. The purity of the extreme frost qi leaves Xinjiang Yi in disbelief, as not even Ma Tian he possesses such true qi, making him question if Xinjiang Min is in trouble. Gathering his forces, the family patriarch shouts out at the mysterious enemy to show themselves. Suddenly, even sharper thunderbolts start crackling in the meeting room. With each passing second, the electricity buzzes wilder. Xinjiang Yi no longer considers it to be a mere provocation, but rather a declaration of war, as such powerful lighting and frost will blow the entire Xinjiang family to smithereens if it were to strike. Right then, the family patriarch senses Yun Xiao's forces and prepares to strike them down. He gives a beastly form to his qi, launching worthy of a 4-star martial grandmaster. However, Yun Xiao remains unfazed, channeling the combined power of 12 martial artists. Through the heavenly obsidian jade, the reincarnated soul unleashes the Yang Gold Divine Thunder and the Yin Water Divine Thunder, calling them forth to blast the Xinjiang family to smithereens. Concentrating into an otherworldly mass of qi, countless thunderbolts erupt from the 12 capital Divine Thunder Array, turning everything in their path to ashes. A large crater forms at the Divine Thunder's point of contact, leaving behind an eerie residue of the Supreme High Palace's extreme yin frost qi. In the aftermath of the blast, the Xinjiang family suffers great losses. Not only do all the lower-level martial artists lose their lives, but the family estate gets destroyed as well, leaving them in a pathetic state. Despite most of their core members surviving, the Xinjiang family suffers more shame than they have in their centuries' worth of history, leaving the patriarch in a rage. Womp womp, lil bro. He no longer cares about the identity of the attackers, only wanting to find and kill them. With blood gushing from his mouth, Xinjiang Yi mobilizes all the elders of his family, ordering them to eliminate whoever left them in such a state. Gathering around their patriarch, the elders leap at the 11 green wolf battleships floating in the sky. However, they find no one on board. As Xinjiang Yi starts losing his mind, one of the elders directs his attention toward the mysterious 7th-tier rock surrounded by the battleships. Within a split second of observing it, the 4-star martial grandmaster comes to a certain realization. Meanwhile, on Yun Xiao's battleship, everyone celebrates the success of their plan. Being the boar that he is, Chunyang suggests making preparations for a long battle, since the Xinjiang family is bound to go crazy over this incident. However, the reincarnated soul simply smirks in response, being doubtful that the enemy can even survive through this, as not even a single one of the Xinjiang family's experts died in the attack. Chunyang and Qing Wang wonder if Yun Xiao has a follow-up plan in mind. At that precise moment, the boy gets alerted by something and screams out, warning his allies that someone powerful is approaching. Suddenly, a voice compliments Yun Xiao for being pretty good for a little tyke. Bro out here inviting new slurs. A hole rips apart in the sky, revealing a mysterious old man, letting out a soft chuckle. The new character questions how a 15-year-old little tyke managed to notice him. Everyone else looks on, speechlessly staring at the old man, in anticipation and disbelief. After all, if not even the martial grandmasters managed to sense him, with their universal detect, he is bound to be an extremely mighty entity. Yu Xiao breaks the silence, revealing that the new character is a 7 constellations realm martial emperor. Seeing the old man yawn without a care in the world while standing against them, Martial Flame City's forces can only hope that he is an ally and not a foe. Closely observing Yun Xiao, the martial emperor questions what tier refiner he is, guessing him to be at the 4th tier level, understanding that there shouldn't be anyone above the 7 constellations realm in the entire Duskflame Empire, except perhaps in the Heaven Gathering itself. Yun Xiao concludes that the old man has immense authority. Despite this, he asks the martial emperor if their personal situation has anything to do with him. As they are in a hurry, Yun Xiao wants the old man to be accommodating. The latter questions if the former is afraid of getting caught by the Xingyang family, getting told that he should just move out of the way since it's none of his business. Holy give it, Chad. Getting talked to in such a tone by a little brat, the martial emperor wonders if he belongs to a special background. Brimming with rage, the powerful entity reminds Yun Xiao that he is not only blatantly disregarding useless old geezers like him by committing murder in High Sun City, but is also daring to say that it is none of his business without even knowing who he is. The martial emperor then hypothesizes that Yun Xiao's forces must be spies sent by either the Heaven-Sent or the Wudong empires, making the boy realize that he's trying to justify killing them on the spot. Letting the old man know that he is aware of his intentions, Yun Xiao warns the old man that he won't be able to win against them and asks him to cut to the chase. The martial grandmaster bursts out laughing, feeling glad to talk to someone smart. Stroking his beard and shaking his head, the old man mentions an interest in the array that Yun Xiao used against the Xingyang family. However, in pure tsundere fashion, the martial grandmaster tries to downplay it as much as possible and pretends like he is only intrigued by the array, not really wanting all that much. Of course, Yun Xiao knows that no one can resist one of the 3 supreme arrays passed down by the Heavenly Night Palace. Making sure that the martial emperor regrets lowballing it, Yun Xiao suggests that the palace master forbade them from giving out the secret array to an outsider. In order to fully sell the act, the reincarnated soul refuses to give out the name of his sect, but gives the martial emperor enough hints for him to deduce the Supreme High Palace as the culprit himself. W. Instigator. Using his master manipulation skills, Yun Xiao somehow convinces the old man to enter negotiations with them, asking for compensation in exchange for the array. He takes away all the possible excuses the martial grandmaster could come up with. After pondering over it long and hard, the old man realizes that he has to play along with Yun Xiao and introduces himself as Zhu Jin. Holding back his allies from making selfish demands in exchange for the array, the reincarnated soul puts a price of 200,000 primordial stones on it, refusing to let himself get played by a teen. The martial emperor starts haggling. An intense back and forth follows, which is utterly dominated by Yun Xiao. In the end, the boy ends up exploiting Zhu Jin's fear of his reputation getting damaged and his desire to obtain the array design, extorting 300,000 high-tier primordial stones from him. Ah, the good old finessing elder citizen's tactic. As the deal concludes, Yun Xiao leaves Zhu Jin with a cryptic message about the Xingyang family and heads out. Elsewhere, Xingyang Yi agrees with an elder's suggestion to keep the 12 green wolf battleships and deems the mysterious stone as the key to catching the culprits. Right then, the ship starts shaking wildly, getting ready to self-destruct. Moments later, the heavenly obsidian jade follows suit. Realizing that its explosion isn't something they can withstand, Xingyang Yi orders everyone to run away and protect the people in the house. However, their fate was sealed when they killed Da Sheng. The heavenly obsidian jade erupts into concentrated shards of extreme frost yuan qi, resembling the flower of death in its form. While the entire Xingyang family gets devoured by it, Yun Xiao recites to his late uncle Chun, asking if he is seeing this. Although the boy is unable to bring Da Sheng back, He can help him take away the people responsible for his death.